But what is the solution to failings? Well, the King James says it's forgiveness. Wait a minute. How can Paul be talking about forgiveness in Ephesians when he already dealt with justification in Romans? And so what does that mean? You can't be righteous and forgiven. Righteous people are in no need of forgiveness. And in fact, in the very real sense, all of our story has been written by the Father before we lived any of our days. So of course, even our failings are justified, not forgiven. A script writer, a producer, a director would not need to forgive one of their characters who is doing their acting right according to script. There's no need for forgiveness. Oh my goodness. And so here what we have instead is the word is if you check the word out, this word is about freedom. The trouble is the only way the religious mind thinks you can get free from failings, free from missing, free from sins. The only way we get free from that is forgiveness. So they actually take a Greek word and then interpret it how it could happen. And they use forgiveness to do it. Instead, the word is the word for freedom. We're freed from sin. We're freed from missing. We're freed from failings. Now, does that mean we don't sin and that we don't miss and that we don't fail? No, but we're free of it. We live free from that. Why? Because we're just acting. We're actors on the stage enjoying the script that Father has written. And we enjoy it even when we make a big mess of everything. You know? Who was that would say, oh, was that Laurel and Hardy? We could say, oh, what a mess you have got us into. And so when we're in the middle of a big mess, we know whose mess it is. We're in the big mess of God. God got us in this mess, but he got us in perfectly. We're perfect sinners. We're perfect missers. We are perfect failers, all toward a grand design. Now, we don't glory in our failings. We don't glory in our sins. We glory in the God who wrote with absolute sovereignty. And you want to talk about, we don't need forgiveness for what we're doing. We're following the script. Everything you do is the will of God. All is out of God. All is through God. All is to God. He works all things after the counsel of his own will. That includes everything in your life, everything in my life. We don't need forgiven for it. We need freedom from it. If you have an actor gets into trouble when he takes to heart his role and thinks it's who he is. And he loses his sense of self and self-worth. And he thinks he's so involved in the character, he thinks this character is him. That's when an actor can, and there's a condition for that actors can get so in character that it affects them mentally and psychologically and emotionally. But what an actor needs is freedom from his role. He needs freedom. He needs distance. He needs there to be no repercussion. Freedom. We have true freedom in our sins, in our misses, in our failings. But actually, this word here is a very interesting word. The concordant translation. Let's see how the King James just translates this Greek word sin, but the concordant translates this Greek word as offenses. So we've offended like we've offended the law, or we've offended God, or we've offended humanity. Okay. And so that we have deliverance from these. But this word is really cool. This offenses, Strong's defines this Greek word of offense or sin. This is not the normal word for sin. And instead of sins, King James, concordant, offenses, the Strong's says this word means a side slip. A side slip. And then in parentheses, it says lapse or deviation. A side slip is you're on a path and you slide off the path. You slip into the ditch. It's a side slip. You get off focus, and this only happens in a relative sense, because in the absolute sense, we have never missed. We have never sinned. We have never failed. Not in the absolute sense. It's only in the relative sense that these things are happening. And what these are, by the choice of word Paul used, they're slip-ups. We slipped and we got off the path, and we have separation from that. So much so, what does Paul say about it? He said that when he doesn't do what he wants to do, and he does what he doesn't want to do, then he realizes this principle that it's not him. Paul said, it is not me, but sin, capital S-I-N, sin personified, that is in me. So Paul divorced himself from sin, from phalances. He did of offenses, of side slipping. He distanced himself. He denied them. These are not, I'm not doing that. And what would you call that? You'd call that freedom. Man, you want to talk about true freedom? Even all the worst stuff that you have done in your life, and the things that you worry about, the things that you have regret about, the things that you have shame about, all these things, God wrote in his book before there were any of them, and he assigned you the actor role of playing this character, and you're free from who they are. The other day I watched a movie, and there's an actor in it that I enjoy watching, and he played a villainous role, and I still enjoyed him in that role because I knew that he was free from that character. That character's not who he is. Oh my goodness. Okay, now here we go on down, and we're going to get to this beautiful thing here. What Paul says about this. So what do we have? We have joy. We have splendid joy. We have the splendor of God's joy. And then with that, he joyizes us with divine energy. He begins to impart into us this realization of his joy, and the joy that he is now imparting to us. And in that, we possess liberation. There's all kinds of deliverance ministries. There's all kinds of paths to freedom. There's all kinds of paths to liberty. And I'm going to tell you, they're all rooted in some kind of self-effort. They're all rooted in some kind of self-improvement. And they're all rooted in some kind of performance. But Paul had already declared how to perform that which is good. I can't even find it. I don't even know how to do it. And the answer's not there. The answer in this joyizing is that we already possess the liberation. Through his blood, Oh, by the way, there's a whole nother thing. If you want to know through his blood and what all that has, what does blood have to do with anything? Read Stephen Hill's The Bloody Truth, and you'll get the bloody truth. And then he says that we have freedom from side slips according to the riches. The riches. How about the wealth of his joy? Not just the riches of his grace, but the wealth, the enormous wealth of his joy, which he now does what with? Lavishes on us. King James says to abound toward us. Not a bad translation, but lavish has a whole another layer there. We'll close with this. I'm going to give you both the Greek definition of the Greek word lavish, and I'll give you the English definition of lavish. And we're going to see what God did when he joyized us. What God did with this splendor of his joy. He lavished us with it. We're bathed in this joy. We're submerged in this joy. We're so deep down into this joy, there is no way out. Now, I know that doesn't match your experience, and I know it doesn't match your circumstances, and I know it doesn't match your sensory perceptions, and it doesn't match emotions. But this is the truth. This is what's real. This is what's absolute. And when you get a realization of that, it tempers our experience. It tempers our surroundings, our senses, our emotions, our circumstances, and brings us to this stable place of spirituality, the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, resulting in not self-control, self-restraint, not in some kind of moderating ourselves and keeping ourselves, but it results in inner strength. Comes from this divine energy, this divine operation of joyizing. And here's the definitions. That Greek word is Greek 4053, and Strong's defines it as superabound. Superabound. In quantity or quality. And we'd say both. And then he says to be in excess. So when God lavishes us, he gives us excessive joy. And then he says, another word Strong's uses to define the Greek word is superfluous. This is one of those super words: superabound, superfluous. This grace is super. Forget Superman, forget Spider-Man, forget Batman, forget the Marvel characters. God brings us through Paul super stuff. Now, let me read you a couple more definitions. Mount says this Greek word means over and above joy. Thayer says to exceed a fixed number or measure. So it's like there's this place where here's joy, and there's this place where it's the full measure of joy. It's all the container will hold. And this word exceeds that. It's beyond measure and beyond number. Now, quickly, let's read some English definitions of lavish. Webster Merriam says, the expending or bestowing profusely. That's lavish. It's profuse. So we could say profuse joy. Cambridge says using more than is necessary. God could have got away with less joy. Okay. Wait till we're out of the bodies of these humiliation. Wait till we get into the immortality of resurrection. and God could have ratcheted it back. We wouldn't have known the difference. But instead, he says, using more than is necessary or reasonable. This is unreasonable joy. Oh, I love that. That's Cambridge. Then the American Heritage Dictionary says that this word lavish is characterized by or produced with extravagance and profusion. This is profuse grace, profuse joy. And then the last one, this one, well, I started to say it made me chuckle. Well, I think all of them made me chuckle. Here's Noah Webster's original dictionary from 1828. And he says that lavish means to expending or bestowing with profusion. And then he uses two words, wild and unrestrained. That's the definitions of lavish, wild and unrestrained. You know what the joy of God is? It's wild. And it is unrestrained. Go ahead and try, And what is religion? It's the opposite of wild. It's tame. Behave. We give the signal, you respond in obedience, and it is surely restrictive. If you don't pray right and give right and attend right and do right, you're not going to get this. This is not for you. But lo and behold, God wrote our story. He wrote everything we're doing. And he gave us this joy that's wild. Wild joy. Unrestrained joy. Hey, thanks for joining me today on findings from the Study Bible Project. I hope that this resonates with you, and if you do, that we can help you into enjoying wild joy and unrestrained joy as we dig deeper in the riches, in the treasures, in the wealth of his joy.